Byron B. Miller. I'm the Smart Building Vertical Marketing Lead at Semtech, as well as chairing the Smart Building Vertical Work Group within the Marketing Committee of the LoRa Alliance. The work group is kind of focused on promoting LoRaWAN in smart building applications through webinars, white papers, seminars, things like that. We've got a great panel here. As you can see, a lot of people to talk. So I'm going to keep my remarks brief and kind of just jump right into it. So Jean-Baptiste is going to start us off. He's founded his company LHIRR in 2018 after 5 years heading up Building Energy Efficiency Department of Artelia Group. LHIRR is a team of experts building performance, energy efficiency, comfort, and connectivity. Jean-Baptiste will share the story of how Accor Invest was able to transform its building asset management strategy thanks to LoRaWAN.
Yeah.
Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah.
Or you can stand. Or
there, yeah, but there is a remote.
Oh, the remote, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay.
Thank you. So the story I have 10 minutes. The small story I will speak to you is about the way we build our project. Because I'm working for Accor Invest. Accor Invest is the owner of hotels in Europe. Some of them are in Berlin. They have more than 800 hotels in Europe. And I'm developing from the maintenance team IoT solution for buildings for 3 years now. We began in 2016. And what the interesting thing about this project is that from the beginning, our client was the maintenance director. It was not the IT director. It was not a corporate thing. It was a maintenance director concerned by the way they do the maintenance. And the IoT project we developed for them was not just an IoT project. It was a new way for doing maintenance in building. And today, the IoT and the way we give the data to the hotels, it's used to change the hotel and to give new targets to achieve new goals about carbon footprint, about critical processes on cold rooms, on Legionella risk. And we handle a lot of some use cases. Today we have 8 use cases covered in buildings. And so from the beginning, the first target was to work, okay, we have some manual documents, manual process, and we want to automatize and give more accurate information to our teams in hotels. And today we deployed it on 70 buildings in France and in Europe. There is one in Germany. The first one was in Munich. And we developed a catalog. We have more than 100 references in this catalog. We work with LoRaWAN devices, but also Modbus devices, because Modbus devices are quite mature. We don't have the same maturity now in LoRaWAN devices. And the interesting way of working we had is to combine the IoT solution to the way to help hotels to deploy this solution. It's why we have video tutorials. We have one mobile application to do the provisioning. So we do from a mobile application the installation of devices. I have the video tutorial on the mobile application, and everything is done by the hotel teams, not by a contractor. And we collect all the data to a global platform where we build our use case, our front end, and we handle all the bricks of the Lego games. Today, it's about 3,000 devices, LoRaWAN devices deployed in the 70 buildings, and more data from business systems. There is one thing when you develop a solution for a corporate company like Accor Invest, it's that it's a big company, it's the Accor Group, it's a 5,000th hotel in the world, so it's very political at a high level. So if you don't have results, your project is quite challenged. So we need to have results, and our KPI for us was the carbon footprint. So we have to reduce the water and energy consumption thanks to these IoT solutions. We have a target of 15% of reduction today, and we achieve it. As you see, it's the results on the first 6 months for the 40 hotels we deployed this year in France. And it's quite good. So in a corporate level, the best way to defend a project like this is to have results you are targeted. And it's the reason we can continue today, because Accor Invest will deploy the solution to 800 hotels in Europe in the next 2 years. So they confirmed it last week. And now I'm working on the second version of the solution to scale and deploy it at the Accor Invest level in 11 countries. I have some slides about the way we work from 3 years and the way you have to build a project if you are a big company like Accor Invest, or if you are a big player from industry, from facility management, or from other kind of companies. The first thing is that when we began in 2016, the only gateway on the market was the Multitech one. We began with 24 blue Multitech gateway, and it was very powerful. We didn't have network server, but we had data, we had LoRaWAN devices. And we began in 3 years ago with 800 devices on 20 hotels. But 3 years later, mostly every part of the project changed. And we are playing Lego games because we consider that every 6 months we have to do a review of the market, and maybe we have to change some part, as the maturity of LoRaWAN and IoT market is not at an industrial level for now, and it's why we are very happy to discuss with Schneider Electric, for example, to have more players, more industrial players on the market. And for us, it's very important that the maturity of device maker and maturity of platform solution get higher. The second rule is for the business you are working for. When we began, some players from the LoRaWAN market, from the IoT market, because from the beginning we compare with other technology. We compare with Sigfox, we compare with LoRaWAN operated networks, etc., with wireless and bus. And the thing we were in front of is that some of tech gurus explain us the way we have to work. And when I'm developing an IoT solution for hotel teams, I have to give a simple data. If I give to an hotel technical director just the data of his monthly consumption, and I tell him, okay, this month your hotel consumption is higher of 5% compared to the last month, the guy in the hotel is not convinced. Okay, 5%, great. If I give him some data with a 10-minute data curve, for example, 10 minutes data point, I will help him to analyze, to understand what takes place in his hotel. And for this use case, with 10 minutes data points, he can analyze the water consumption during the night, during the weekend, etc., etc. He can detect patterns. He can see a lot of things without the big artificial intelligence. With a human, you can see a lot of things, and you don't need a lot of artificial intelligence to detect failures on cold rooms or on water consumption. But you need a private network, because if you work with operating networks, it's hard to negotiate for the quantity of data. And with private network, we can have this kind of curve. And mostly all our devices are working with 10 minutes or 30 minutes data points. The other thing is that if you have time and money, you can develop your own solution, what we did with Accor. But with IoT, the thing is that you're connected to the business, and the people on the field are very reactive and very rude sometimes. And if your solution is not working, you know it by a phone call quickly. So you have to spend time on your solutions, on your IoT apps. For example, we developed the provisioning application because during the first deployment, the quality of deployment was not good. The device was not installed in the good way, and the data we got was not good. For example, the temperature sensor, if you put it in the wrong way, you don't have the temperature you want to monitor. So we developed this application with pictures, and we had a lot of things to monitor the quality of data. We had video tutorials, as I said, etc., etc. So the last thing the last very important thing for us is the schema you are building. For example, this slide is quite complicated, but one day I show it to a VP in Accor Group, and first I said, okay, we'll go to the next slide because it will be too complicated. And the guy said me, no, stop. It was a woman actually. She said me, stop. We have to understand it, because today we can invent new use case if you understand the architecture of the solutions. And today, this schema is this architecture is very successful in Accor teams, because they can analyze, okay, and if you want to do that, we can connect here, etc., etc. So it's very important if in big group to popularize your architecture and don't stay in your tower of IT things. And the last thing is the feedback, because often we had some difficulties with partners about the roadmap. If you have a feedback from the field and you tell him, okay, we will look at the next year, at the end you don't have more feedback. So we are working with a monthly roadmap and to integrate a lot of feedback. It was an example here where we develop a new use case to have some reports. If a contractor come in the hotel and do some things and there is failure after the contractor work, we can detect it and we can do a report and send it to the contractor. It works for lift, for temperature management, etc. So maybe it's okay. I have some other slide, but shorter.
No, thank you.
And the last, if you can up. So my conclusion was IoT is not IT. It's very important because if you give the IoT project to the IT teams, maybe sometimes you will have failures in the way you deploy it on the field.
Thank you. Thanks, Jean-Baptiste. So it's pretty cool to see the validation of LoRaWAN in the smart building space by a company the size of Accor Invest. That's pretty impressive. So our next speaker is going to be Hani Zekri. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Senior IoT engineer at Digimondo. Hani's got a master's degree from FAU Erlangen-Nuremberg University. I'm sure I said that wrong. And he's going to tell us how Digimondo uses LoRaWAN to monitor schools in Hamburg and ensure utility shaft control using a real-time 3D application. Hani?
Thank you for the introduction. I'm Hani Zekri from Digimondo, and Digimondo is basically it's a German company based in Hamburg, and we are 3 years in the market, and we provide IT software solutions and simplified digital transformation and automation for our customers, and make them visualize their data and IoT and make it much better to view, not just receive some LoRa packets, so make them really usable for some useful data, make them useful data. And for example, we make IoT like for building automation and public buildings as simple as possible that everybody can use it, and we will see this later on in our slides. Also, we use it for locals and make sure that it's the working environment safe for the workers, and also we will see that in the next slide. And one of the use cases we have currently in Hamburg is like Peter is one of the guys who is coordinators in Hamburg schools. And he has extensive work with managing a team, and he has to manage a lot of manpower to close, for example, the window and close the doors. It's all security stuff. And for example, last year there was a toilet that vandalized at night, and then he discovered that maybe if it was a weekend, then he comes after the weekend and everything is totally damaged. And also one big issue in Germany is like not an issue, is like it's very important that the students have a good air quality in the classes. And this is based also because in a Finnish studies they found out that if the environment is really it's good and clear with oxygen and the temperature and so on, the students can perform better. And that's actually what IoT brings on, and using LoRaWAN. And our solution is to monitor the whole school with just an app, and it's called the Schulbau app. And it's basically to monitor everything wirelessly, and he don't need all this manpower that, okay, people go here and these people manage these buildings. So it's just in one blink, he can manage everything, and he can see them. As we can see here in the app, it's just on the map you can see which windows are open, which windows it's closed. So he knows the status of almost everything, and everything is battery operated, easy to install. using LoRaWAN, so that's how the thing's solved. Also, he can manage the carbon dioxide in the classes, or the oxygen and the temperature in the room. So if the room is like in winter is really warm, then he can get it he can just see it. Okay, it's very warm. Then he can change the weather, the thermostat, and then he can change it quite easy. Yeah, that was one of the use cases, and that prevents a lot of risks, and any potential damage you can know it immediately with real time, and reduces costs and maintenance. So you don't need to from time to time send a team, say, oh, you have to check this and this. You just have to see the status of everything, which is Internet of Things now. Then you see everything is working really or not, and what's the status and then you can really know when it's ready to prevent and make maintenance. And also LoRa, in the class use case, it established a very good learning atmosphere for the students, so they can now learn and be more productive. And the second use case is the manhole. So there is someone called Andreas. He is a worker, and he has 2 kids, and he has to go down weekly in the manhole, and has to make the check for everything, even if it's bad weather or not bad weather, and the stairs are slippery. Maybe he fall down, and it's actually he just recently fell down, and he got a bad injury, and he had to stay at home. And that's basically can be solved with our sensors. And you can monitor them, and you can see if it's really raining, or it's a leakage, or something in the pipelines, it's going wrong. And you can see also the temperature. As I said, it's like raining, or it's leakage. And everything is battery operated and easy to install. So with this, we can reduce the costs of the manpower that they have to check, and also prevent the damage and the failure of any of the pipelines and the leakage. And in that way, you don't need that huge amount of team or the manpower. And that's in the end reduces the work time and the costs for the organization. And that's basically it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So I was struck by the fact that I don't know who was in here for Donna's opening remarks this morning, but these use cases echo her point about using IoT to sort of make the world better, make lives better, and I think those are 2 very good examples. So we'll kind of keep with the smart city theme and move on to the next presentation. We get 2 for 1 in this presentation. So we're going to hear from Yannick Kopp, who's the head of business development at Laureate, and from Tim Geisendorf. Did I get it right? Close? Geisendorf? Who's an IoT solution architect with Smart City Darmstadt. They're going to tell us about a couple of use cases that they have.
Absolutely. I will give it back to you soon. I will just start with a little introduction. So what I want to show you guys is how we used LoRaWAN as a perfect foundation to enable a city to turn into a smart city. And because it's always good to have proof, I brought my friend and partner Tim Geisendorf with me, because he actually used LoRaWAN to do this in Darmstadt. And I think it's an amazing example how to leverage the LoRaWAN technology. And it basically starts how the city of Darmstadt actually got this smart city movement, and this is what Tim is going to tell you now.
Thank you. In November 2060, Bitkom initiated a contest about digital cities. Bitkom is the German IT association. And the goal was to find a model city, not the digital city also, sondern a city which has the potential to be a digital city in future. And Darmstadt won this prize. We got some prizes, but the most important thing we learned in Darmstadt was it's not about prizes or sponsoring. The most important thing is connecting, not only connecting things, but also connecting people. There we got the prize in Berlin, and one thing Darmstadt showed up at this contest was that we have a wide area of organizations, companies, institutes which support us. This reaches from the ESA or universities to utility companies and other companies like Deutsche Telekom or, for example, LoRaWAN. Our projects we also have to give at the concept is a little bit bigger. It's about 100 projects. And one important thing is we also watched at areas that normal city don't have, like IT infrastructure, a cybersecurity department, and a central data platform. But let's have a look at 3 parts. And I will hand over to Yannick.
Thank you very much. So yeah, we're gonna actually deep dive into 2 different use cases and how they actually implemented their LoRaWAN platform within Darmstadt, because it was very important for them to have a private instance of a LoRaWAN network server, because they are, like in Darmstadt, they're running a tier 1 data center, so they have all the infrastructure ready, and they have very high requirements in data security. So we wanted to make sure they have everything in their own data center, they have control over the data, they have control who has access to this data, and they can define who is allowed to use a LoRaWAN network. And we were selected as a partner in this case, and we delivered the software to Darmstadt, but we also, LoRaWAN, supports Darmstadt to identify smart city use cases and work together with them in these use cases. And yeah, I got a pretty cool use case with me, because it was covered in German media, so in TV, and I hope we can show this video now. Oh? Do I just have to press?
Den exemplarisch für das neue digitale Darmstadt hier im
turn off the sound so I can voice over? Thanks, because it's in German. So it was covered in German media, and it's about a zoo. And you have the zookeeper here who is using LoRaWAN sensors within the zoo to monitor the temperature and humidity in the cages for the animals. And before he had this solution, he had to walk around like every hour to the different cages and check for the temperature and for the humidity. And like during the day he was able to do this, but in the night there was no control. So it might have happened that they lost some of their attractions when some cage got too hot or too cold. And now he has this LoRa solution in place, so he can monitor and get also alarms what's happening in the cages. And this is like a really nice use case, because it's something that you would not think about in the first place, and it's not the classic smart waste or smart lighting use case, but it has a huge impact on the person actually using it and gives him a huge benefit, because he now has more time to care about actually the animals more, rather than walking around in the zoo and checking temperatures. And the second use case they successfully implemented is the smart waste use case. So they have actually a production environment for smart waste. They have the full city with these containers. They have covered with sensors, and they're measuring the fill level and the waste level within these containers. And yeah, you can see the sensor on top, how it is mounted. And they managed to cut down the costs, the pickup costs for the waste by 50% by implementing this use case. And yeah, I think this has a huge impact for the city. And like the cool thing for the citizens is that like the costs they are saving, they are basically given back to the citizens because the costs for the waste disposal get lower. So it basically has directly an impact for the citizens. Yeah, and there is one last topic which I think is something that Darmstadt and also the Digitalstadt Darmstadt is doing really good, and it's the bringing IoT and LoRaWAN into education. Because yeah, Tim told me, and also I managed to join a few sessions that they are doing workshops with students and even with smaller kids about IoT and LoRaWAN. And they give the kids and the students the opportunity to build their own IoT use cases and work together with them and get new ideas, make them understand the concept of IoT. And they are like bringing this mindset to the young people who will be the next generation picking up this topic. And I think this is really a great thing that they are doing, spreading the word about LoRaWAN and IoT. Yeah, that's it from our side. Thank you very much.
To Hans at the end there.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. Again, super creative use cases. I mean, it's kind of amazing what people come up with for use cases. So next we're going to hear from Hans Schulten of Capgemini. Hans is a board member of Capgemini. I'm sure I said that wrong too, but Hans is a board member of Capgemini Netherlands. He's been involved in optimizing their support processes and internal processes, and in the last 5 years he's been involved with their corporate real estate group. He's also serves as the leader of the Smart Office Center of Excellence. He's got a master's of Mathematics from University of Utrecht. Capgemini is in the process of rolling out an office occupancy and conference room solution, which to all of their global locations, and Hans is going to tell us about that experience.
Thank you. 400 million euros. That's what we spent yearly on our office space and facilities costs. That's a huge amount. And as I'm in the real estate part of our company, a few years ago we decided we have to do something with that. It's we centralized everything, and we were looking at how to decrease that amount. So we decided to invest in smart office. From the beginning, we had 4 targets. One, of course, cost saving. The other targets were more user experience based. First one was space optimization. We wanted to solve our no-show issue. We had a no-show of 30% in our meeting rooms. People book a room, the meeting is cancelled, but they forget to cancel the meeting room reservation. One of the most annoying things for employees in our offices, that seemed to be. We also wanted to add comfort information in our offices. Levels of temperature, noise levels, CO2 levels, humidity, etc. People can see it on the dashboard and pick the workspace of their choice. Right sizing of square meters is also a hot topic in our company. When we do manual counting, or we look at access data from the entrance, we see that around 65% of our space is utilized, which is not much. If we could bring that up to 75%, which is still reasonable, 750 seats occupied out of 1,000. That doesn't seem unreasonable. That would save a lot of money. Why is it so hard to change that without accurate data? Because whenever we change contracts, we have around 400 offices worldwide. A normal contract lasts for 5 years. So we have 80 office changes every year. It can be a move to another office or an extension of a contract. Then you're always in contact with the local manager, and local managers always think that they have a shortage of space. They always want more space. And their main issue is that they focus on peak moments and not on average use of office. Yeah? And of course, the fourth thing is sustainability. If you decrease the square meters you have, you also decrease the carbon footprint you have. When we started 2 years ago, we investigated the market, and we soon realized that to get the accurate data we needed and the detailed information, we really need sensors. And we also realized that the main cost drivers for that solution were installation and hardware. So we defined some requirements and finally crafted a solution meeting those requirements. And LoRaWAN was the protocol that we chose. For us, easy installation was very important. You don't want to send a team of experts all over the world to install your solution in 400 offices. So easy installation was key for us, and everything we built around our solution really lowers the installation cost. So it's plug and play, and a local unskilled person is able to install it, and most offices can be up and running in 1 or 2 days. Low maintenance, that's why we chose for batteries. We have sensors based on batteries, and they should at least last for 5 years. And you don't want to change batteries every year or every 2 years. Retrofitting for us, very important. Most of our offices are existing offices. So you don't want to mess with the construction and etc. It should be plug and play, stick it to the ceiling, and it should work. Agnostic is for us very important. We don't want vendor lock-in. Every component in our solution should be replaceable by something else. If something else comes on the market, which is better or cheaper or whatever, we should be able to change our component. Now, of course, it has to be secure, GDPR compliant. Now, what does it look like? In the back end, we have the sensors. In the end, we looked at the market. We couldn't find what we needed. That's pure matter of price and performance issues. So we decided to build our own sensors. A hardware company built the hardware, and because we are a software company, we built our own firmware. We have a presence sensor, which is an intelligent sensor in meeting rooms, which detects if people are in there or not. We have desk sensors that really give accurate information of desk usage. And we have comfort sensors for temperature, light, noise, CO2, etc. For the gateways, we used an off-the-shelf product from Multitech. And because we are installing more than 100,000 sensors, we wanted a managed environment. We want to manage it from a distance. So we used a development we did for Airbus in France a couple of years ago, and that's our management layer. So we are able to monitor battery levels, outage of sensors, but we can also push new software releases to the sensors, and we are able to configure the sensors from a distance. And then the fun part, of course, the applications, the dashboards, the apps. We'll get to this one. It all started with a smart office app that we are using now in many countries. One of the key features is the floor map feature, where we show people with red and green icons which rooms are available or are empty or occupied. That's where we started, and over the last year, many other features were added to this app. It's connected to the back office of ISS, our facilities supplier. If people see something that's broken or something that should be cleaned, they can take a picture, send it to the ticketing system of ISS, and it will be solved. But also we added restaurant information for the bigger offices we have, public transport information. We connected it to our booking system. And we have a simple booking system in Outlook, but with this app, it's now very easy to book rooms and to cancel bookings. And then finally, if you look at the business case, which is very important for us, 400 offices, 10,000 meeting rooms, 150,000 desks, and around 200,000 users. So it's a huge rollout we are doing at the moment. We are halfway, but in the end, I think with around an investment of 6 million, we will manage. 3.5 million is a hardware, 1.5 million is software, and about 1 million is rollout costs. If you add it up and divide it by the square meters we have, it's less than 4 euros per square meter. We hoped to increase, of course, the occupancy of our offices from 65 to 75%. That's an increase of 15%. So potentially 15% of 400 million euros is 60 million euros saving. We're not quite there. I'm pretty much sure that we will save between 20 and 30 million euros a year, but it's still a very solid business case, and it was not difficult to get approval for the budget, of course. Yeah, that's it.
When you're in a very busy parking lot with lots of events, with lots of cars adjacent, with our sensors in the ground, in order to get really the accuracy, you really do need a dense network. So we actually ended up putting 2 gateways up on the light post. And the other thing is, yes, it's great to see, I think in the long run, you're right. We're going to have apps that kind of lets you reserve parking spaces, guides you to the parking space. But also, practically, for some of the applications where people that show up at the parking lot, they want to see where to go. So we did actually make this old sign, old meaning kind of old technology sign, into a LoRa sign. And it was kind of a little silly, but we actually passed all the parking sensor events up to the cloud. The cloud actually pushed back down through a LoRa gateway and actually lit up kind of where the spaces were available to give real-time guidance. But that's one of people do want to, they don't care if it's LoRa or if it's IoT, they just want to have the information available right there when they need it. So, for us, one of the things is, yes, we do light up everything here with LoRa, but when we go out there, we really need a lot more dense network. And so our challenge has always been to kind of, set expectations to our customers properly and let them know that, if you really want the 95% plus accuracy from our sensors, we also do need a dense network. And I think all of us, we're all excited about LoRa and all the devices that can go on it. And I think one of the things that we do need to do, make sure, is that going from pilot now into large deployments, we really do need to make sure that we educate our system integrators as well as our customers in terms of what's really needed to make it successful.
Thank you. I think we have a few minutes left. Okay, so I'd like to let the audience ask any questions, offer the opportunity for anybody to ask the panelists something about their presentation or about LoRaWAN or IoT in general. You guys did a good job. answered all the questions.
This is a question for Jean-Baptiste. I'm sure you covered that, but what is the return on investment for a hotel to deploy your solution?
I didn't hear, sorry.
What's the return on investment for deploying your solution in a hotel?
We calculated based on the first deployment in 2016, where when we deployed 800 devices on this issue about water and energy management. And we calculated the return on investment was about 23 months for the solution. So in about less than 2 years, we had the return on investment, including the engineering from the beginning. So it was quite good, and it's why we deployed in more than 70 buildings after, and it's why we are continuing to deploy in 800 buildings now. Yeah.
In your experiences in your projects, are you seeing, is there a return window that people are generally looking for their IoT investments? 1 year, 2 years, anything like that? What have you kind of seen, or is that not the driving factor? No? Okay. Maybe we don't know. Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Okay. So I've got a few here. I guess first let me ask each of you, is what you've described here, are these sort of readily available solutions using readily available hardware, or is there some custom development that was done specifically for this application that you've done? So, Hani, if you want to start.
I didn't understand the question.
If somebody saw this presentation and wanted to come and replicate the solution that you demonstrated here,
Yeah.
Everything is available, standard hardware, standard application, software, all those kind of things.
Yeah, it's we have on-premise installation and everything is ready, and also we are developing other products currently, and yeah, so we are always growing and looking forward for more customers, definitely.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
To complete, I'm not sure there is one business model for IoT. There is a lot of business model, and in our case, the decision to build a full solution, full IoT solution for an hospitality group, it was not natural before. In the first stage, we decided, okay, maybe we can work with a big player and build a solution with them. But at the end, we had a high risk for us as an hospitality group, is if our hotel has access to 40 platforms at the end of the story. Because the guy who will sell us the chiller want to sell us a platform. The guy who will sell us energy monitoring want to sell us the platform. And there is a lot of vertical. Everybody want to sell us a platform. And so if at the end of the story, our hotel has access to more than 40 platforms, it's not possible for a general manager of an hotel to have too much services and too much access to different platforms. So we prefer to have a basic access to data, and we have a common platform for basic access to have the curves. But if there is specific use case, maybe it's interesting to work on specific use case on a new software part. But we have a basic platform and it's very easy to replicate. Today, if I have to build my project from zero, maybe I will take about 6 months. It's not a big issue and it's the interest of LoRaWAN. And device maker and LoRaWAN Alliance have to work to simplify more. And to be frank, because today it's very difficult to buy a new device. We have to validate some testing, and maybe the LoRaWAN certification is very useful to improve the global quality of devices, even for applicative layers. But it's quite easy to build new use cases today. And it's the very important thing in Accor Group. It's thanks to this project, we unlock the mind of a lot of people in the group. And today, we have new use cases created by people from the group more or less every week. We are working on the panic button for housekeeping. We are working on a waste management with a balance. And they developed it in Arduino. It's very interesting to have this kind of communication between the world of makers with Arduino devices and the AV industrial solutions. And LoRaWAN is the only protocol on the market to allow it.
Good, okay. In your smart city projects, are you sort of driven by financial returns or social good, or what's sort of the ideas behind the smart city projects?
This depends on the use case. In some cases, it's only to make the people feel better in the city. In other, like smart waste, it's driven by financial.
Okay. Anybody come up with a question in the meantime? Got one back here.
Hi, Becky. This one's for you. When you were describing about the need to do site surveys and recommended that your customers go do that, are they pushing back on you have the solution you want to provide to them? Are they saying, well, I just want it to work, so why are you asking me to go out to those sites and do a site survey? And if they are you seeing the need to go out and do it yourself? And are you just chalking that up to a cost of doing business? Or are you making a service model out of that? What's your experience in that area?
Good question. So, in an ideal world, where our business, what I would like our business to be, is where we sell the hardware and to a system integrator, and the system integrator does everything. I think IoT still, or LoRa, or even IoT or smart cities, I think it's still in early stage that there's really no system integrator that we can go to that's going to take the parking sensors. What you end up running into are old parking management companies, but their attitude towards it is slightly different, and even what they're trying to get out of the solution, I think they're not leveraging everything they could. For instance, like if I go in there, when I go to sell the whole idea of putting a LoRa network in, I say, hey, it's great because you can measure all this parking, but afterwards you could go in the marketplace and you can put up a air quality sensor, you can put, these trash cans, you can put a trash can monitoring. We go and pitch it that way because there's more uses, because once you put the gateway up, it's so expensive, you might as well put everything else on it. But if I just go and talk to the parking management guys, they're kind of like, oh, that's great, and that's it, right? So that's kind of a pity. And so what I would like to see more is kind of the really smart city approach, where they are looking at it a little differently from these siloed applications. And I guess it's going to be the CTOs and the CIOs of the city that's going to architect what they want. But even for our parking sensor, it's so hard to put these sensors in there. And I keep on saying, once we have this real estate, there should be more sensors than just our magnetic sensor, which looks for a parking event, right? You kind of asked, well, what did we have to do? Do we have to customize it? It was actually not very easy to do, and I don't think there's going to be many companies that don't understand sensors and sensor algorithms to be able to make a parking sensor with a magnetic sensor. Because we're not looking for just a threshold change, but we actually look for a car coming in. So we look for signatures, but it's got to work across various environments in all these cities. And so that's why we had to put a machine learning algorithm into it, because we couldn't go and tune it for all the different cases it was going to see. So I think that's a long answer to your question. But what we ended up doing is, I think because it is early on and we wanted to understand the IoT market, we have been going out ourselves, because it's a learning opportunity for us, right? And so, but we hope to see a lot more system integrators doing the whole thing. But in general, yes, they only want to choke one throat. So they usually go, we say, you know what, it'll be cheaper if you go and buy your gateways from Comcast, Machine Cube, and then, you can go and put your own LoRa network in if you want, or go and do it all separate. It'd be much cheaper for you guys, but they don't. They just want one person to just do it and make it work, and, So yes, we have been doing it. We would rather not be doing that part of it.
Thank you.
Do we have time for one more question, Charles? Where'd Charles go? He's disappeared. Rachel, do we have time for one more question? Okay, so I was going to direct this one to Hans. In your analysis of the cost savings, sort of what part of it was related to reducing your leasing costs and what part was related to improving assumptions about improving employee productivity through, like, you know, finding the conference rooms faster and those desk sharing things?
Okay, we try to stay out of those calculations because they're pretty. Okay, now the main cost drivers are square meter right sizing. That's by far. And by the way, we are a system integrator. We are not interested in making our own sensors. This was a one-time thing we did. And we are especially interested in point solutions. That's why we are also interested in the LoRaWAN alliance.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any other final questions? Okay, I'd thank the panelists.